My alpha mate Derek secretly inherited his sister-in-law Sarah after his brother's death. On the surface, I was his Luna, but in reality, Sarah was the one who truly held his heart. He praised me as the most exceptional Luna, tasking me with caring for all pack members, yet when Sarah tended to an injured male wolf, his jealousy flared so violently that he bit off the poor wolf's paw. In public, he proclaimed me as his beloved Luna to the entire pack, while keeping Sarah hidden safely in the shadows. When enemy wolves kidnapped me after discovering my identity, I desperately reached out through our mind link, begging for help. His response cut deeper than any physical wound. "Olivia, Sarah is carrying my pup. We'll tell everyone it's my brother's son. I must protect her and the baby without leaving her side for even a moment. Just endure for a few days. Once Sarah's morning sickness improves, I'll lead all our warriors to rescue you." In the days that followed, I sent countless pleas for help through our link, but received nothing in return. Eventually, our connection shattered completely. For an entire year, those wolves imprisoned and tortured me. They broke my hind legs and ripped out my fangs, stripping me of my wolf's dignity. Derek never came for me. When I finally escaped and stumbled back to our territory, blood-soaked and broken, I discovered my daughter locked in the silver prison where rogue wolves were kept. She was being torn apart as food, her small body covered in wounds. Meanwhile, my mate, my pup's father, was joyfully celebrating the first birthday of his and Sarah's pup, announcing that Sarah's child would become the pack's heir. Tears streaming down my face, I gathered my skeletal little pup in my arms. "It's okay, sweetie. I'll find you a better dad." My alpha mate proclaimed me as his beloved Luna to the entire pack, but in fact his widowed sister-in-law was his true love. I was kidnapped by a hostile wolf pack. For an entire year, those wolves imprisoned and tortured me. But Derek never came for me. When I finally escaped and stumbled back to our territory, blood-soaked and broken, I discovered my daughter locked in the silver prison where rogue wolves were kept. She was being torn apart as food, her small body covered in wounds. Meanwhile, my mate, my pup's father, was joyfully celebrating the first birthday of his and Sarah's pup, announcing that Sarah's child would become the pack's heir. I burst into the sacred altar grounds of the territory just as Derek was tenderly placing the ring, the symbol of the pack's Luna, onto Sarah's finger. In that same moment, he announced that in 3 days' time, they would officially proclaim Sarah's son as the pack's heir. Sarah cradled her 1-year-old male pup in her arms, her wolf tail coiling like a serpent around Derek's waist as she leaned against him with feigned shyness. The intimacy between them was unmistakable. Derek turned with a smile and our eyes locked. Tattered appearance, my fur matted with blood and dirt, my body broken, years of being soulmates meant he recognized my scent instantly. His eyes flooded with surprise and what looked like joy. He started moving toward me, urgency in his steps. "Liv," he began. Sarah clutched his sleeve, interrupting him softly. "Derek," her voice carried a pleading tone. Something shifted in his expression as if he suddenly remembered something important. He stopped in his tracks, the words dying in his throat. The look he gave me transformed from initial joy to discomfort and guilt. The wolves attending the ceremony had been offering their congratulations when they spotted my filthy figure. Their faces immediately twisted with contempt. "On this joyous day for our alpha, why is this dirty, crazy she-wolf crashing the ceremony? Such bad luck," one muttered. Another narrowed his eyes. "Wait, doesn't she look a bit like Olivia, the alpha's dead mate? Didn't he say Olivia was kidnapped and killed by rogue wolves a year ago? Thank goodness Sarah was there to comfort him daily." They grew close, and now he's even passing leadership to Sarah's child. I wanted to laugh bitterly. Dead mate? That was news to me. Is that really Olivia? She's not dead. Then doesn't that make Sarah the third will who destroyed the alpha's bonded relationship? His brother's widow is still alive, yet she couldn't wait to seduce her brother-in-law. Those words reached Sarah's ears, draining the color from her face. She threw me a resentful glance, clearly recognizing who I was. With tears welling in her eyes, she made a show of trying to remove the ancient ring, her voice trembling with manufactured sorrow. Since everyone is saying these things, Derek, I don't want this Luna ring anymore. And please don't name my son as the alpha heir. She continued. I'm just an Omega who lost her mate. I can't bear these misunderstandings. I only want to stay by your side and our pup's side. That's enough for me. Derek's face immediately filled with concern. He hurriedly slipped the ring back onto Sarah's finger, his voice tender as he consoled her. Sarah, don't say such foolish things. You bore my brother's heir, making you the pack's greatest contributor. This ring and the position of the pack's female alpha rightfully belong to you. I stared at him in disbelief, my heart hammering against my ribs. Derek, you promised me that our daughter was the only true heir to the Silvercrest pack leadership. That jeweled ring wasn't just a symbol of the female alpha's position, it was the bonding token Derek had given me when he marked me as his mate. To prove his devotion, he had personally engraved my name onto the ring's surface. Now, as my gaze fell upon that same ring, pain lanced through my heart. My name had been completely erased. In its place was carved, Sarah. I swallowed the agony of being abandoned by my mate and was about to speak up to reclaim my identity when Derek approached me. He pressed his claws against my throat, his eyes cold and unrecognizing. Olivia is dead, he announced to everyone. This she-wolf is nothing but a stray lone wolf. Anyone who dares to slander Sarah will answer to me personally. I knocked his paw away, staring at him with shock etched across my face. Derek, say that again. Who am I? Hesitation flickered in his eyes. He leaned close, whispering so only I could hear. Olivia, you heard everything. If I acknowledge your identity now, Sarah's reputation will be destroyed. His breath felt hot against my ear as he continued, my brother entrusted Sarah to me. I can't let her suffer such humiliation. You've always been strong and kind-hearted. Just bear with this a little longer, baby. With those words, he turned away without sparing me another glance. He ordered the caretaker to escort me out, claiming he was offering me some scraps of meat as a good deed for his 1-year-old son's karma. Behind me, the pack members' congratulatory voices rose again, praising Derek and Sarah as the greatest alpha and female alpha pair. Inside, my heart had turned to ice. The old caretaker had once been a high-ranking soldier in the pack's elite force before retiring due to injury. He now worked at Derek's private residence and was fiercely loyal. Having served Derek for many years, he naturally recognized me. He had someone prepare clean clothes for me and escorted me to a guest room to wash up. I found this strange. Why a guest room? Ignoring the caretaker's attempts to stop me, I walked to the master bedroom door and pushed it open. The chamber that once belonged to Derek and me now contained not a single trace of my existence. Every decoration had been changed to match Sarah's preferences. Even our soul-bonding sculpture had been replaced with one of Derek and Sarah. The wolf who once vowed that he would be with me until our bones turned to ash had, in the end, changed. I stared at the intimate portrayal of Derek and Sarah in the sculpture, fury building inside me like a gathering storm. So this was why he never came to rescue me. He feared I would stand in the way of his relationship with Sarah. The old caretaker sighed heavily, wanting to offer some consolation but unable to find the right words. I stared numbly at the moonlight vine cradle woven from enchanted branches in the corner of the room and asked quietly, "Where is my Emma? Where is she?" The caretaker hesitated, seemingly reluctant to tell me, but eventually gave in to my persistent questions. Finally, he revealed that my daughter was in the Silver Prison. The Silver Prison was where the pack kept their most vicious rogue wolves. Why would my daughter be there? When I found Emma in the Silver Prison, hot blood rushed to my head, followed immediately by an icy chill that spread from the soles of my feet. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. My 5-year-old pup was clutching the communication crystal I had given her, locked in the same cell as a savage rogue wolf. My once healthy and beautiful pup was now skin and bones, her fur dry and brittle, her already small body even more frail than before. The rogue wolf had clearly been starved for a long time and was treating my daughter as a food reserve. My daughter's body was so badly mauled that she was almost unrecognizable. Her limbs and even her face were covered in wounds so deep the bone was visible. The sleeping rogue wolf had blood smeared around its mouth. My Emma, once a pup raised with tender love and care, was now so strong she didn't shed a single tear. Looking starved, she glanced warily at the sleeping rogue wolf before carefully crawling to the food bowl and devouring what little remained inside. Remembering the healthy, strong pup in Derek's arms earlier, hatred burned through my heart like wildfire. Derek, how dare you? I couldn't control the howl that escaped my throat. My Emma. The emaciated pup paused, slowly raising her head to look at me. She stared in shock for a long moment before her eyes widened in disbelief. Mom, you came back. In the next second, the tiny wolf erupted in heart-wrenching howls, crying out to her mother. Mother, Sarah locked Emma in with this rogue wolf. Because Sarah's son really enjoys watching the rogue wolf chase and bite me. So Sarah doesn't let anyone give the rogue wolf other food. It tears at my flesh every day. Father doesn't care. I'm so scared. The rogue wolf is too fierce. I can't fight it. Mother, you finally came back. Her words cut deeper than any physical wound I'd endured during my captivity. The cell reeked of blood and fear, my daughter's blood, my daughter's fear. The silver bars burned my skin as I gripped them, my knuckles turning white. Step back, Emma, I commanded, my voice low and dangerous. Without hesitation, I unleashed my claws against the lock. Silver be damned. The pain was excruciating as the metal seared my skin, but my rage was stronger. The lock broke with a satisfying crack, and I threw the cell door open. The sound woke the rogue wolf. It snarled, yellow eyes focusing first on Emma, then shifting to me. It must have sensed the murderous intent radiating from my body because it backed away, whimpering. Too late for cowardice. I lunged forward with a speed I didn't know my broken body still possessed. My claws found the wolf's throat. Luna Olivia, please don't be rash, the old caretaker's voice cracked with panic. This arrangement was specifically set up by Lady Sarah. Whenever the alpha heir sees the wolf fight, he gets very excited. If you harm it, Lady Sarah and the alpha heir will be upset, and the alpha will become angry, the old caretaker pleaded nervously. I looked at my daughter's mangled body, then back at the caretaker. The coward couldn't even meet my eyes. So Derek allows this monster to stay just so it could torment his own daughter. My voice was deadly calm. I ignored the caretaker's warnings. The moment the rogue wolf lunged toward us, my claws shattered its skull. Still not satisfied, I tore through the entire prison cell, reducing it to ruins. Derek rushed over when he heard the commotion, immediately starting with accusations. Olivia, how could you cause such a disturbance the moment you return? Are you trying to make the pack members suspicious? His face tightened as he noticed the dead rogue wolf. Nathan is crying from fear now. Do you have any idea what you've done? Sarah has already been busy all day with the ceremony, and now she has to comfort our son. Can't you stop causing trouble for one damn minute? I know you've suffered for over a year, and I'll explain everything later, but Sarah's reputation cannot be damaged by you, he hissed, lowering his voice. Bitterness flooded my heart, turning my blood to ice. He was this concerned because another woman's son was crying. What about the years when my daughter and I were nearly tortured to death? You're so heartbroken because her son shed a few tears. Emma is your daughter too, yet you let Sarah lock her in the silver prison and allowed that rogue wolf to use her as food. How can your heart be so one-sided? I snarled, my voice shaking with rage. Derek seemed to notice Emma's wounds for the first time, his face filled with confusion. What are you talking about? Emma is my blood. How could I let her be bitten by wolves and fed like animal feed? I hesitated, studying his expression. Was it possible he truly didn't know? Frowning, he called for the caretaker to bring Sarah. When Sarah arrived, she took one look at the scene, the destroyed cell, the dead wolf, Emma in my arms, and immediately broke into tears. Derek, she sobbed, clutching at his arm. Olivia misunderstands me. Emma is so adorable, how could I ever treat her like that? You know I loved her like my own. She wiped dramatically at her tears. You know how Emma loves playing hunting games. She was begging me to play with her earlier, but I was busy entertaining guests and hadn't found time to look for her. Sarah's voice hitched convincingly. Who would have thought this child would be bold enough to go to the silver prison to find a rogue wolf? I've been so worried about her. Emma looked at me anxiously. Mom, I didn't, Emma, Sarah interrupted, her voice saccharine yet venomous. I know you hate that I've taken your mother's position, but you shouldn't unite with your mother to lie. She clutched her chest dramatically. Do you both hate me that much? After everything I've done for this pack? For you? Derek's face darkened as he turned to Emma, delivering a harsh slap across her face. You're just a pup, yet you dare to lie and falsely accuse your aunt. Who knows what kind of trouble you'll cause when you grow up? Today, as your father, I need to teach you a lesson. Emma was stunned by the blow. Tears welled in her eyes, but she stubbornly refused to let them fall. My heart ached for her. I shoved Derek away with one paw. Derek, what gives you the right to hit my daughter? I held Emma closer, shielding her from him. Use your brain for once. You know very well that Emma can't defeat a rogue wolf. How would she lock herself in the prison? She's so small and thin, how could she possibly move those heavy iron chains? Doubt flickered in Derek's eyes, but Sarah cried even harder. Fine, I'll just be the villain here. Yes, I did it all. Are you satisfied now? I might as well take Nathan and kill myself. Perhaps in death, I'll meet the moon goddess and your brother. With those words, she turned and ran away, her sobs echoing down the corridor. Derek watched Sarah's retreating figure with concern, then turned to glare at me with undisguised anger. Olivia, is this how you've raised our daughter? Teaching her to lie so young, always picking on her aunt. Is she going to bully her little brother next? His words cut deeper than any physical wound. After everything we'd endured, he was still taking Sarah's side. My brother died too young. Sarah has no one to rely on but me, he continued, his voice rising. Why can't you two just accept her? You're being completely unreasonable. Without even acknowledging the wounds covering both Emma and me, he turned and rushed after Sarah. Emma stared at her father's disappearing figure, her large wolf eyes filled with longing and sadness. Mom, is it because I'm a she-wolf that Dad prefers my little brother and Aunt Sarah? He doesn't like us because I'm not a boy. I'm sorry, Mom. This is all my fault. Despite being slapped by her father, a wolf pup's instinct made it impossible for her to hate him. Instead, she blamed herself for not being born male. I held Emma close to my chest, her small body feeling so fragile in my arms. No, that's not true. Emma is the best wolf pup any parent could ask for. None of this is your fault. I pressed my lips to her forehead, warmth spreading through my chest despite the cold rage still burning inside me. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll find you a better father. I carried Emma back to the side chamber and asked the old caretaker to find the pack's healer. The healer administered healing herbs to counteract the rogue wolf's toxins that had been slowly poisoning my daughter. As the healer tended to her wounds, Emma told me everything that had happened during the past year. Derek had devoted nearly all the pack's resources to supporting Sarah and her son, while completely ignoring his daughter. Sarah had tormented Emma both openly and secretly. Whenever Emma tried to tell Derek about the abuse, Sarah would accuse her of lying, and Derek would always choose to believe Sarah. It was Derek and Sarah who told Emma that I had been killed by enemy wolves. Every day, Emma would clutch the communication crystal I had left her and cry. She would rather let the rogue wolf bite her than allow it to damage the crystal, even though it had lost its power and could no longer connect to me. After finally coaxing Emma to sleep, I sat beside her bed, my mind in turmoil. Earlier, I had told her we didn't need her father anymore, but Emma hadn't responded. I knew that a pup's instinctive need for her bloodline made it hard for her to give up on Derek. Despite Derek constantly criticizing Emma for being female, believing she lacked the ability to inherit the alpha position, deep down, she still craved her father's love. Should I give Derek another chance for Emma's sake? As I was lost in my thoughts, I was suddenly pulled into a familiar embrace, one that now carried the unpleasant scent of another nursing female wolf. Olivia, thank the moon goddess you're alive. You've returned safely to me, Derek whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He kissed my neck, his lips lingering on my mating mark. I promised my brother I would protect Sarah and give her a child that would be publicly recognized as my brother's offspring. When she got pregnant, her morning sickness was severe. I had to stay by her side to protect her, which is why I couldn't rescue you in time. His arms tightened around me as he continued, later, I searched everywhere for news of you, but I heard you were dead. My heart shattered into pieces. I pushed him away, fighting the nausea rising in my throat. Looking directly into his eyes, I asked quietly, what about now? I've returned. Do you still want to bond with her? Do you want her to be your mate? Derek gazed at me with what appeared to be genuine regret. How could I? You're my only female alpha. The ceremony with Sarah is just for show. I would never truly mark her. I need to give Nathan and Sarah legitimate status so they won't be criticized by the pack members, Derek continued, his eyes pleading for understanding. It's just a ceremony for show, meant only for outsiders. Behind closed doors, you and I are the true bonded mates. His hand caressed my cheek. You've always been so understanding. This won't bother you, right? So this was his plan, to continue telling everyone I was dead while I lived forever in the shadows. Hidden away like a shameful secret. Derek roughly began pulling at my clothes, his movements urgent and possessive. Olivia, Sarah has already given birth to a male pup. We need to catch up. It's time for you to bear me another male warrior. His fur still carried the scent of nursing milk mixed with Sarah's distinctive maternal odor. It wasn't hard to imagine what the two of them had been doing together. My stomach churned with disgust. Just then, Sarah's wolf maid came running in, breathless with urgency. Alpha. Lady Sarah has a fever. Someone upset her terribly, and now she can't nurse the little pup. Your son has nothing to eat. Please come quickly. Derek shoved me away abruptly. My once broken leg couldn't support my weight, and I collapsed to the floor. He didn't even glance back at me. Sarah's this sick and you're only telling me now. What good are you servants? He snarled at the maid. Get every healer in the pack to her chambers immediately. And find wet nurses, skilled ones, who can feed my son. I won't allow Sarah to suffer another moment. And my son will not go hungry. He rushed away, leaving me stunned on the cold floor. 5 years ago, when he decided to inherit his sister-in-law, Emma had just been born. My wolf was in agony over his betrayal, and I fell deathly ill. I had begged him to find healers, to find someone to nurse Emma, but he had coldly replied, Olivia, you're the female alpha of the Silvercrest pack. You must learn to be strong. This pain is nothing. His eyes had been distant then, already focused elsewhere. I don't trust strange wolves. What if they're spies from the rogue wolf army? I can't gamble with Sarah's safety. He had stared down at me, weakened from childbirth and heartbreak. So I won't get healers for you, and you'll have to nurse the pup yourself. Olivia, you've always been the most reasonable one. Just endure it a little longer. But now, he would do anything to make Sarah comfortable. Even for the slightest discomfort, he would mobilize the entire pack. So what was I to him, exactly? Mom, don't cry. Emma had awakened without my noticing. She climbed down from the bed and approached me, her small paw reaching up to touch my face. I hadn't realized tears were streaming down my cheeks. Her claws dug gently into my fur as she made the distinctive mournful whine of a wolf pup. Mom, this is the 50th time Alpha has abandoned us for Aunt Sarah. Eyes, too old for such a young pup, met mine with resolve. I've made up my mind. We don't need a father anymore. Let's leave. So my child had known everything all along. She had given her father 50 chances. 50 times she had watched him walk away. 50 times she had hoped he might choose differently. 50 times her heart had broken when he didn't. Until the wolf had used up all his chances. Until she no longer held out hope. I gathered Emma in my arms, laughing through my tears. All right, my love. Mom will take you away from here. The next morning, Sarah sought me out, inviting me to go shopping as an apology for not taking proper care of Emma. She claimed she wanted to buy gifts to make amends. She looped her arm through Derek's, playing the perfect mate. Derek, you'll need to come along to pay. Olivia has suffered so much this past year, we need to properly compensate her. She carried herself with all the authority of the pack's female alpha, as if the position had always been hers. When I remained silent, Derek's face darkened with displeasure. Olivia, Sarah's trying to be nice. You and Emma upset her so much yesterday that her milk ducts became blocked. She was in pain all night, yet she's not holding it against you. Don't be so ungrateful. What he conveniently forgot was that werewolves have exceptional hearing. I had endured listening to their intimate activities all night long. The memory of those revolting sounds made my stomach turn, but I eventually nodded in agreement, if only to end this charade. At the shopping center, Sarah clung to Derek's arm as they walked ahead of me. He wore a custom-tailored suit while she floated beside him in a designer gown. They looked like the perfect power couple, basking in the adoration of pack members they encountered. I limped behind them, my clothes plain and worn, enduring the disdainful glances from other wolves. Whenever someone curiously inquired about my identity, Derek would glance uncomfortably at me before replying, "She's a household servant." Sarah wanted to buy her some clothes. The store attendants would then gush with admiration. The alpha and female alpha not only make a perfect couple, but you both share the same generous heart, caring even for your servants. You two will surely enjoy a long and happy life together. Each word felt like a silver dagger twisting in my chest. On our way back to the residence, our car was suddenly surrounded by more than a dozen wolves on motorcycles. They forced our vehicle to stop, smashed the windows, and made it clear they were targeting Derek. They immediately demanded $100 million and the pack's most precious healing herbs. The money means nothing to me, Derek said calmly, but it's too much to carry. Let us go, and I'll retrieve it immediately. One of them laughed mockingly, Derek, we've all been through bloody battles. Don't take us for fools. We heard you're about to perform another mating ceremony. Which of these two females is your beloved mate? We'll keep her as our hostage. Otherwise, none of you are leaving. For every hour of delay, I'll cut off one of her fingers. Sarah and I both looked at Derek, waiting for his response. These wolves clearly had nothing to lose, their threats weren't empty. Derek obviously realized this too. After a moment of silence, he roughly shoved me forward. This is my mate. You can investigate if you don't believe me, her identity isn't a secret. I'll leave her with you. Now can the rest of us go? I stared at him in disbelief. So this was why he had been so publicly announcing me as his mate. Just so I could be Sarah's sacrificial replacement when trouble came. To prove they weren't bluffing and to warn Derek against any tricks, one of the wolves immediately sliced off one of my fingers. Blood poured from the wound. My face went pale with pain, but I kept my eyes fixed on Derek. Derek, are you sure you won't regret this? The blood pooled at my feet, soaking into my shoes. The wolves laughed, their eyes glinting with anticipation of the ransom they would soon collect. Derek avoided my gaze, turning his head away with guilty discomfort. Olivia, Sarah has no one to rely on but me. I promised I would protect her. Just bear with this for a little while, and I'll make it up to you later. His voice softened, as if that could ease the sting of his betrayal. Wait for me. I'll go gather the money right away, and as soon as I have it, I'll come rescue you. With those empty words, he grabbed Sarah's hand and left without a moment's hesitation. I watched their retreating figures with a numbness spreading through my body. My werewolf mating mark suddenly felt like nothing more than a cruel joke. 2 hours had passed since the deadline, and I had lost 2 more claws. The pain was excruciating, each severed digit a testament to Derek's abandonment. The lead wolf grew impatient and sent one of his younger pack mates to Derek's territory to investigate. The young wolf returned quickly, cursing in frustration. Damn it, boss. They played us for fools. His eyes glittered with rage as he continued, I disguised myself and went to Derek's residence asking for him. You know what his caretaker told me? Said their alpha was busy putting his female alpha to bed and couldn't be disturbed. He spat on the ground. Turns out that other female is his real mate. This one's just a fake. The pain from my mutilated hand spread into my heart, making it impossible to tell which hurt more, my physical wounds or my shattered soul. The lead wolf exploded with fury, grabbing a fistful of my hair and yanking my head back. You bitch. You all conspired to trick me. I'll tear you to pieces. His razor-sharp claws hovered at my throat, a heartbeat away from slicing through my skin. In that final moment, Derek finally appeared. He hadn't brought money or resources as promised. Instead, he had assembled dozens of wolf warriors who quickly overwhelmed our captors, leaving them bloodied on the ground. So he had never gone to gather the ransom at all. He had simply been busy comforting Sarah. On the journey back, he bandaged my wounded hand while offering weak apologies. Olivia, I know you've suffered, but Sarah isn't like you. She's fragile. She couldn't handle that kind of situation. His fingers worked gently on my wounds, but his words cut deeper than any claw. If anything happened to her, I couldn't face my dead brother. You understand me, don't you? I was exhausted by his pathetic excuses. Too tired to argue, I simply waved my uninjured hand dismissively. You don't need to explain. I understand everything. I won't take it personally. His face brightened with relief, as if my forgiveness was all he needed to absolve himself. I knew you'd understand. You've always been the reasonable one, Olivia. Once the ceremony with Sarah is over, I'll lead our warriors to battle. We'll conquer all the enemy packs and eliminate every threat. You'll never be in danger again. I stared at the bandages covering what remained of my hand. The white gauze was already turning crimson, just like the promises he had once made to me, stained and irredeemable. Was this protection truly for me, or was it for Sarah's safety? Deep down, he knew the answer. But I kept that thought to myself, locked away with all the other truths he wasn't ready to hear. On the day of the ceremony, Derek caught my hand before leaving. Olivia, thank you for being so understanding. Once I've finished with all this, I'll take you and Emma to tour our territory. We could all use some relaxation. I smiled and straightened his collar, smoothing the expensive fabric beneath my fingers. Sounds good. Now hurry, don't keep Sarah waiting. He looked at me with surprise, clearly not expecting me to accept the situation so graciously. After all, I'd fought him countless times about Sarah in the past. But time was short, so Derek didn't dwell on my sudden change of heart. He hurried off toward the altar where the ceremony would take place. Watching his retreating figure, I thought to myself that it was finally time for Emma and me to leave. At the ceremony site, the pack's most respected elder was asking the traditional question, "Mr. Derek, do you consent to bind yourself to Sarah as your soulmate?" Derek was about to speak when the old caretaker burst into the clearing. "Sir. Terrible news. As soon as you left, remnants of that wolf pack from the other day attacked. They've kidnapped Mrs. Olivia and young Miss Emma." The caretaker's voice cracked with distress as he continued, "They left a vision stone. Mrs. Olivia and Miss Emma have been executed." The healing token ring slipped from Derek's fingers, clattering against the stone floor. Ignoring the elder's prompting to continue the ceremony, he raised his voice in alarm. "What did you say?" His face drained of color as he continued, "I eliminated them all thoroughly. How could any have escaped?" The old caretaker was sweating profusely, stammering as he spoke, "Sir, I'm not lying to you. See for yourself." He handed over the vision stone. To prevent me from causing a scene and disrupting the ceremony, Derek had locked Emma and me in a room before leaving, cutting off all contact with the outside world. But what he saw in the vision stone made his blood run cold. In the recording, Emma and I were bound at the edge of a cliff, surrounded by wolves with glowing green eyes. They wore the same clothing as the wolves who had ambushed our car days earlier. Before they made their move, they asked if I had any last words. I looked directly into the vision stone, a small, bitter smile crossing my lips. "Derek, this time I'm really going to die. You must be happy, right? No one will disturb you and Sarah anymore. I wish your family of 3 all the happiness in the world." I paused, my eyes reflecting a mixture of pain and resolution. "Oh, and I left a gift in your study to celebrate your mating ceremony. I'm sure you'll like it. Our mate bond ends in this life, Derek. Goodbye." The next moment, Emma and I were kicked off the cliff. Everyone knew that at the bottom lay a massive silver pit. No wolf could survive such a fall. "Olivia! No!" Derek's anguished cry echoed across the ceremonial grounds. Derek clutched the vision stone with a death grip, his eyes bloodshot and wild. The stone's audio was loud enough for everyone to hear, and combined with the caretaker's announcement, the pack members quickly understood what had happened. Murmurs swept through the crowd as they turned to stare at Sarah, their expressions shifting from respect to suspicion. "So that disheveled female wolf really was Olivia," someone whispered loudly. "Why didn't the alpha acknowledge her then?" A bitter laugh came from an older pack member. "Why do you think?" "So he could be with his sister-in-law without his mate causing problems. Didn't want his precious Sarah to be upset." Did you hear Olivia's tone? She sounded like she'd lost all will to live. Must have given up hope on that worthless alpha. "What kind of wolf claims his mate is dead when she's actually alive?" hissed another. "Then gets involved with his brother's widow and has the audacity to hold a mating ceremony. Disgusting." Derek froze, the painful truth of their words piercing through his carefully constructed justifications. Had he truly driven me to despair? Was I so broken that death seemed preferable to living in his shadow? The accusations continued to fly, gaining momentum as more wolves joined in. "And Sarah's no better. I've heard that after Derek's brother died, she was constantly clinging to Derek, playing the fragile widow. Always putting on that helpless act, making life miserable for Olivia. I even heard she abused Olivia's pup behind everyone's back. A female wolf stepped forward, her eyes blazing with indignation. She knew perfectly well that Olivia had returned, yet she still pushed forward with stealing her mate. Shameless. Sarah's face grew increasingly pale, her lip caught between her teeth as she affected a wounded expression. Derek, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Aren't you going to say something? Are you just going to stand there while they attack us? But this time, Derek wasn't swayed by her practiced vulnerability. His mind was consumed by the image of Emma and me being kicked off that cliff, plummeting toward the silver pit below. He turned to leave, but Sarah grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Derek, our ceremony isn't finished. Where are you going? She demanded, panic edging into her voice. Olivia is in real danger. I have to save her immediately. His voice was flat, his decision made. Sarah's grip tightened, her claws digging slightly into his skin. No. I won't let you go. Those wolves are desperate killers. It's too dangerous. When he didn't respond, she tried a different approach, her voice softening to the sweet tone that had manipulated him so many times before. Derek, darling, Olivia has always landed on her feet, hasn't she? Look at the previous 2 times, she came back just fine, didn't she? I'm sure she'll be fine this time too. Came back just fine. Something snapped in Derek's mind as he recalled my injured hind leg, my extracted wolf fangs, and my 3 severed fingers. Is that what Sarah considered just fine? Seeing his silence, Sarah believed her words were working. She pressed her advantage. Besides, the images on that vision stone might not even be real. Derek stiffened. What are you implying? Sarah gave a dismissive shrug, her mask slipping just enough to reveal the calculation beneath. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Olivia has always been jealous, always resented how you protected me. She knows about our ceremony today, she's just creating drama to ruin it. Her voice took on a sharper edge as she continued, you know how many lies Emma has told to frame me. Just the other day, she falsely accused me of locking her in a dog cage. Like mother, like daughter. Olivia's no better. She's just trying to steal you away from me. Enough. Derek's roar silenced the entire clearing, the force of his alpha command making the younger wolves cower. He stared at Sarah as if seeing her for the first time, disbelief written across his features. What nonsense are you spouting? Olivia is my soulmate. This ceremony was only meant to give Nathan a legitimate status. I never intended to leave her. Why would she need to steal me from you? The crowd fell silent, watching the confrontation with wide eyes. Sarah's carefully crafted image was crumbling before them. Derek, you can't mean that, Sarah whispered, her voice now genuinely frightened. After everything we've shared, after all I've done for you, Sarah's eyes filled with tears, making her look vulnerable and pitiful. Unfortunately for her, Derek was no longer susceptible to her manipulations. You are only my sister-in-law, he said coldly. And that's all you will ever be. His hands clenched into fists as he continued, Olivia is nothing like what you described. She never spoke a single word against you. Even when I repeatedly put her in danger for your sake, when she nearly lost her life, she never complained once. What right do you have to claim she resented you? The pack members gathered around them, shocked at the alpha's sudden change of heart. Some nodded in agreement, while others whispered among themselves. Just days ago, you should have been the one kidnapped. Olivia took your place and suffered in your stead. Instead of showing gratitude, you speak of her this way. Do you have no conscience at all? This was the first time Derek had ever spoken so harshly to Sarah. The words poured out of him, years of suppressed truth finally breaking free. Derek couldn't understand how his gentle, sweet sister-in-law had transformed into this repulsive creature before him. Or perhaps this was who she had been all along, hidden beneath a carefully crafted mask. Sarah let tears trail down her cheeks, playing the victim one last time. Derek, you've misunderstood me. That's not what I meant. Today is our ceremony. I was just... Derek pulled his arm from her grasp, his expression cold and distant. I haven't misunderstood anything. I promised my brother I would take care of you, but that doesn't give you the right to slander Olivia. I will personally raise Nathan, but this ceremony is cancelled. The elder looked between them, confused by the sudden turn of events, but wisely remained silent. I've already abandoned Olivia twice, Derek continued, his voice growing firmer. I will not abandon her a third time. From now on, our relationship is strictly as in-laws. I suggest you remember that. With those final words, Derek left without hesitation, ignoring Sarah's tearful pleas behind him. He raced to the cliff like a madman, but by the time he arrived, Emma and I, along with the wolves who had supposedly kidnapped us, had vanished without a trace. Derek mobilized every warrior in the pack, searching the area beneath the cliff for 3 days and nights without rest. He drove himself to exhaustion, refusing food and water, his eyes wild with desperation. On the 3rd day, one of the younger wolves approached him cautiously. The fighter was swaying on his feet, completely drained of energy. Alpha, he ventured quietly, we've been searching for so long without finding anything. Perhaps Lady Olivia and Miss Emma's bodies have been taken by wild animals. Before he could finish, Derek struck him down with a single swipe of his claws, sending the wolf tumbling to the ground. Derek's wolf nature was barely under control, his expression terrifying in its intensity. Even if they were devoured by beasts, find those beasts. Cut open their bellies. I don't care if you find them alive or just their bones, I must bring Olivia home. His voice cracked on the last word, raw emotion breaking through his commanding tone. During those days, Derek and his men slaughtered nearly every wild animal on the mountain. The scent of blood filled the valley, making even the strongest wolves nauseous. Yet still, there was no trace of Emma or me to be found. Finally, Derek collapsed from exhaustion. When he regained consciousness in his bed chambers, for a brief, merciful moment, he believed it had all been a nightmare. He called out my name, his voice echoing through the empty rooms. But only silence answered him. In a daze, Derek made his way to his study, hoping to find some clue, some way to track us down. Instead, his eyes fell upon a document placed carefully in the center of his desk, a mate bond dissolution agreement. The sight of it pierced his heart more painfully than any physical wound. Derek remembered my words about leaving him a celebration gift, but he never imagined I would dissolve our mate bond. When he marked me, we had sworn a blood oath under the moon to remain faithful to each other for eternity. Sadly, he was the one who broke that promise first. Derek finally understood why I had seemed so at peace that morning, why I had straightened his tie and watched him leave for his mating ceremony with another female. Only complete despair could have created such indifference. Derek clutched the dissolution agreement to his chest as days of suppressed emotion finally erupted. He howled and whimpered like an injured pup, his anguished cries echoing through the empty house. Olivia, I've lost you forever, haven't I? You're really leaving me, aren't you? He sobbed, his voice breaking. Olivia, I was wrong. Please come back. This time, I swear I'll never abandon you again. But I would never answer him again. By then, Emma and I had already settled in a small coastal town in the south. From the moment I decided to leave Derek, I had been planning how to escape with Emma safely. I knew Derek's nature well. Even with his divided loyalties, his possessiveness was too strong to ever let us leave willingly. The kidnapping incident had given me the perfect idea. I had hired mercenaries from the Shadow Wolf Legion to pose as accomplices of our previous captors, staging our deaths to secure our freedom. Only by dying could we truly escape Derek's grasp forever. He must have seen the mate bond dissolution agreement by now. I imagined he was probably living happily with Sarah and their son, the perfect family he had always wanted. That was for the best. At least Emma and I would never again fear being abandoned by him. Emma had spent her early years in the cold northern territories and quickly fell in love with the Southern Ocean. Through friends, I obtained new wolf identity papers for us both. I enrolled Emma in the local pup academy where she could finally interact with other young wolves. After years of private tutors due to Derek's status, she now blossomed in the company of her peers. Her was remarkable, she smiled more, laughed freely, and the haunted look gradually faded from her eyes. I opened a small herb shop, surrounded daily by the healing scents of plants and waking each morning to Emma's sweet face. Slowly, the darkness that had consumed me began to lift. While we enjoyed our peaceful, free existence, chaos reigned in the northern territories where the Silvercrest pack was in turmoil. Within 6 months, Derek had led his warriors on a rampage through pack after pack, regardless of whether they had been allies or enemies before. None were spared his wrath. Each time, he would beat the opposing alpha to near death, then ask a single question: where are my Luna and daughter? Even Derek wasn't invincible. During his relentless search, one alpha managed to break his leg in a vicious fight. Through this savage quest, he discovered unexpected truths from the whispered conversations of pack servants. He learned that Sarah had deliberately feigned severe morning sickness to prevent him from rescuing me. She'd twisted in phantom pain whenever he mentioned gathering warriors, clutching at her belly and pleading with those doe eyes that had always manipulated him so effectively. He discovered, through a drunken confession from one of Sarah's personal guards, that she had fabricated news of my death, leaving me to be tortured for over a year. She'd paid mercenaries to bring back false reports, had even procured a lock of hair resembling mine to seal the deception. Most horrifying of all, through the tear-filled confession of a young servant who could no longer bear the guilt, he learned that Emma had been deliberately imprisoned in the silver cage by Sarah. The girl had overheard Sarah instructing the guards. "Make sure the cage door isn't locked too securely," Sarah had said. "If the rogue happens to kill the girl, well, accidents happen. One less rival for my Nathan's future." Even the attack by the enemy pack that had resulted in my capture and torture had been orchestrated by Sarah, who had leaked information about our whereabouts through a network of spies. Her sole purpose had been to eliminate me permanently. If Derek hadn't grown concerned and slipped sleeping herbs into Sarah's evening milk that night, she would have delayed him even longer with her pretense of illness. I might not have survived at all. When he finally ordered Sarah's arrest, she fought like a cornered animal. She was brought before the pack council for judgment, her body bloody and broken as she was dragged before Derek. Even then, her manipulations continued as she pleaded for mercy, her voice dripping with false remorse. "Derek, please," she whispered, tears streaming down her face on command. "I had no choice. Your brother died so young. As a widowed female wolf who had lost her mate, I needed every advantage to survive in the pack. What else could I have done?" Derek rubbed his temples in frustration, his patience finally exhausted. He leaned forward, studying the wolf he had protected and cherished for so long, seeing for the first time the monster beneath the mask. "What do you mean, no choice? When did I ever mistreat you? I had already promised that Nathan would be the alpha's heir. Why did you need to hurt Olivia and Emma?" Sarah's eyes darted around the room, seeking any ally, finding none. The pack members who had once fawned over her now looked on with disgust. "You don't understand the pressure," she insisted, changing tactics. "Being the mother of the future alpha, I had to ensure Nathan's position was secure. By torturing my mate. By trying to kill my daughter." Derek's voice remained controlled, which somehow made it more terrifying. Sarah's eyes narrowed, her true nature emerging as she sensed her tactics failing. "You say that, but what about Olivia? Would she really have accepted her daughter losing the alpha position?" Rather than one day being controlled by her and her daughter, I had to strike first. Slap. Derek's hand cracked across her face with such force that she sprawled onto the stone floor, blood trickling from her split lip. You deranged beast. You're completely insane, he roared, his control finally snapping. Sarah cowered, touching her bloodied lip, genuine fear replacing calculation in her eyes. The pack members watched in stunned silence as their alpha continued, his voice low and dangerous. I cared for both you and Olivia for years. When did Olivia ever cause you trouble? When? Did she ever speak against you or Nathan? I had already told her that Nathan would be my heir, and she never once complained. Derek's eyes glowed with supernatural fury as he recited, our ancient pack law states that kin must never harm kin. Yet Olivia was your sister-in-law, Emma your niece. How could you bring yourself to harm them? With such a poisonous heart, what kind of wolf will you raise Nathan to become? Sarah finally understood the hidden meaning in his words. She looked up, terror replacing the calculation in her eyes as she scrambled backward on her hands and knees. What are you planning to do? Her voice cracked with genuine fear. You can't separate me from Nathan. He's my flesh and blood. I'm the mother of the future Alpha. I am the rightful Luna of the Silvercrest pack. Her voice rose to a hysterical pitch as her mask completely shattered. It wasn't me who forced you to claim 2 females, she screamed, spittle flying from her mouth. I didn't force you into my bed. I didn't make you sacrifice Olivia in my place. You willingly betrayed her, which is why she dissolved your mate bond. How dare you blame everything on me? Derek stood silent, watching as her true nature revealed itself before the entire pack. I was your brother's mate. You can't kill me, she screamed, desperation replacing calculation as guards moved toward her. Your brother's spirit would never forgive you. Derek finally saw through the wolf's true nature. He let out a bitter laugh. That held no humor, only the painful recognition of his own blindness. Don't worry, I won't kill you, he said, his voice eerily calm after the storm of emotion. I won't even separate you from Nathan. Hope flickered briefly in Sarah's eyes before he continued. From today forward, Nathan will be adopted by Olivia and me, while you will remain nothing but a lowly omega in the pack. He will never call you mother again. He will know exactly what you did to his true father's memory, to his alpha, and to his alpha's mate and daughter. Sarah's eyes widened in horror as Derek continued, his voice cold and unforgiving. If not for you, Olivia wouldn't have been tortured for a year, wouldn't have lost her hind leg and 3 fingers. His voice broke slightly at the mention of my wounds. I'm going to lock you in the silver prison, cut off your paws, and leave you unable to care for yourself. Sarah began to sob, real tears now replacing the theatrical ones she had used to manipulate him for so long. You can't do this. I'm the mother of your heir, she wailed, clinging to his legs. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to Olivia, to Emma. Please. Derek shook her off as if she were nothing more than an insect. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper that only she and those closest to them could hear. You'll spend the rest of your days in the basement, living like a feral dog, sister-in-law. Every day, you'll remember what you did to my true mate and daughter. Every moment of suffering you experience will be a pale shadow of what they endured because of you. With those final words, he signaled to his warriors, who dragged Sarah away despite her frantic screams and pleas for mercy. Her nails left deep gouges in the stone floor as she fought, her strength no match for the 4 burly wolves who hauled her toward the dungeons. I'll kill you for this, she screamed as they took her away. I'll kill all of you. As Sarah's anguished cries echoed through the halls, gradually fading into the distance, the old caretaker approached Derek. His hands trembled slightly as he handed the alpha a weathered photograph. I've been keeping this hidden, sir, the old wolf admitted. Lady Sarah ordered me to burn it, but I couldn't bring myself to destroy it. I thought you might want it now. Derek's eyes lit up with an intensity not seen in months as he stared at the familiar figures in the image. Olivia, he whispered, his voice filled with renewed purpose. I had believed our days would continue in peaceful anonymity. I was wrong. Alexander found us. It happened one afternoon as I sat outside my herb shop, teaching Emma how to identify different medicinal plants. We were engrossed in our lesson when a weathered voice interrupted us. Olivia, I've finally found you. Derek still wore his trademark tailored suit, his dominant aura unchanged. Yet his body had grown thinner, and he now walked with a pronounced limp, making his attempts at projecting strength seem almost forced. When I remained silent, he turned his attention to Emma, crouching down with outstretched arms. Emma, have you missed Daddy? Come give me a hug. Instead of running to him, Emma retreated behind me, her eyes filled with wariness and rejection. I ushered Emma inside the shop and closed the door before turning to face him. Why are you here? I asked coldly. Derek hesitated, his expression awkward and uncertain, emotions I'd rarely seen from him before. Olivia, I've come to bring you both home. I laughed bitterly. Home? You mean that disgusting place where a sister-in-law and mate serve the same wolf? Don't be ridiculous. We have no connection anymore. Please leave. My words struck him like physical blows, but he persisted. No, Olivia, it's not like that anymore. I've uncovered all her dirty schemes. I've cut all ties with her. I've eliminated every enemy who might threaten us. No one will ever hurt you again. He took a step closer, his eyes pleading. Come home with me, please. I'll make everything up to you and Emma. I promise. For years, all I'd ever heard from his lips was, just bear with it a little longer. This was the first time he had ever promised that I wouldn't suffer anymore. Unfortunately, his words came too late. I no longer cared. You come to say these things only after I've suffered so much. Derek, don't you find that laughable? I asked, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Do you think your promises can erase everything? The year of torture I endured. My broken leg. Our daughter locked in a cage like an animal. What kind of compensation could possibly make up for that? Why should I accept anything from you? Derek stood speechless, desperately scrambling to explain. Olivia, it was Sarah who fabricated the news of your death. I truly believed you were gone. Otherwise, I would never have let you suffer like that. Derek, I interrupted, you're supposed to be the alpha of a pack, yet all you do is blame females when things go wrong. The wind picked up, rustling through the herbs hanging from my shop. Derek's face fell as I continued. Yes, Sarah was terrible. But you were my mate. When you received news of my death, you didn't even investigate. You didn't search for my body. You simply believed what you were told and then rushed to bind yourself to your brother's widow. You allowed her to abuse my pup. Doesn't that make you even more revolting? Each word struck him like a physical blow. The mighty alpha who had commanded territories and wolves now stood before me, diminished and silent. Go back to where you came from. The Olivia you knew is dead. Emma doesn't want you as her father anymore. To us, you're just a nightmare we're finally free from. We've built a happy life here. If you have any conscience left at all, you'll leave us alone and never disturb us again. Without waiting for his response, I turned and walked back into my shop, closing the door firmly behind me. The barrier between us was more than just wood, it was final. The next morning, when I took Emma to her school, Derek was nowhere to be seen. In his place was a blood moon flower wreath. In its center lay the bone ring that symbolized the female alpha status of the Silvercrest pack. The name engraved upon it had been changed back to mine. Beside it rested a small card with two simple words, Olivia, sorry. But some things, once broken, can never be repaired. No amount of regret or apologies could restore what we had lost. I gathered everything and tossed it into the herb shop's fire pit, watching as the flames consumed all traces of our past. A few days later, I received news of Derek's death. Sarah had collapsed in her cage. Derek, having promised his brother he wouldn't directly take her life, had instructed his men to open the silver prison to check on her. When he crouched down to examine her, Sarah's wolf suddenly lunged forward, sinking her teeth into his throat. The unsuspecting Alpha, caught off guard by the supposedly weak Omega, had his windpipe torn open in seconds. In his final moments, Derek's claws had ended Sarah's life as well. Within days, the Silvercrest Pack's territory and resources were quickly divided among the enemies Derek had made during his search for us. The old caretaker had escaped with Nathan into the western forests, never to be heard from again. I never told Emma that her father was dead. From the moment we left the territory, his affairs had ceased to matter to us. The past was a dark, unreachable place. But thankfully, ahead of us waited a future bright with promise. Emma flourished in her new school, her nightmares gradually fading as months passed. The scars on her body would always remain, but her spirit had healed in ways I hadn't thought possible. My herb shop prospered, becoming known throughout the region for remedies that worked when all else failed. Some whispered that my herbs carried magic. Perhaps they did, the magic of a mother's determination to build something lasting for her child. Sometimes at night, I would still feel the phantom pain where our mate bond had been severed. But as time passed, even that faded to a dull memory. We had survived. We had rebuilt. And in the end, that was all that mattered.